My name is Lisa. With my dad, Richard, playing the hotshot plastic surgeon and my mom, Jane, being the cool optometrist in town, my life used to be quite good. Whether it was Dad's grandiose stories about making people beautiful or Mom's gentle direction, our home was always a hive of activity. Will you pass those files, Lisa? At home during her sessions, Mom would shout out. Being her sidekick made me feel somewhat significant in our small clinic. Dad was a different story. He would enter with charm and tales of his most recent masterpiece surgery. Mom would respond, beauty isn't just about what you see, in an attempt to impart a more profound lesson to me. Even though I didn't hear all of their insults, I could feel the coldness in the air. Up until he started arriving home late, our dinners were a combination of Dad's boasting and medical discourse, with the air heavy with unspoken things. Once more, late work. Mom's voice would be piercing as she dug. One night, Dad became even more stern and said, "Someone has to do the real work around here, Jane." Even when Mom's expression tightened, she continued to speak. Then came the storm. Dad had been playing with his helper, who was much younger. He didn't abandon his entire life when he made the decision to leave. Instead, he packed up as if he were simply departing for another conference. "How can you just abandon us, Richard?" Mom's voice was unsteady as she attempted to fight. "It's me, not you." "Take care of your mother, Lisa," he added, without looking at me. He should have been the one taking care of us, so his advice seemed like a smack in the face. It was a nightmare that ensued. Mom fell into such a deep melancholy that she seemed to have disappeared. Dad decided he wanted the house for himself and his new girlfriend, so we had to move out of our house and into a small apartment. "Mom, why is he doing this?" I was unable to comprehend the chaos. "Lisa, people change, or perhaps they just reveal who they really are." She said, "We'll get through," but it sounded like she was speaking to a ghost. She was barely hanging on, out of it. We were rapidly sinking. My grandparents then arrived, providing us with all the support and affection we required. "Lisa, your mother is stronger than she realizes." Grandpa would stand by us like two pillars and say, "We'll help her back on her feet." The lesson was unmistakable. Family is all you have when the world turns its back on you. They never disparaged Dad. The last straw came when Dad insisted on keeping the house for himself and his new family. Mom almost gave him everything because she was too exhausted to fight. But suddenly, with guns blazing, my grandparents took over. They engaged an attorney who battled valiantly and was able to recover half of the house's worth. Mom was able to purchase a modest apartment for us with the proceeds from the sale of that property. After Dad ran off, life took a drastic turn. Mom, who was once lively and full of life, turned into a shadow of her former self. The small flat we moved into felt more like a box than a house. It was a drastic change from our luxurious existence to this one, and not in a good manner. Mom stopped working at the clinic. The phone would sit quiet, a cruel reminder of how far we'd fallen, while she would look at it as though she wanted it to ring. There were very few days that she was able to drag herself to the clinic, but those were wins. On her good days, she would cry out, "Lisa, breakfast," without the warmth that usually characterized her voice. For me, I knew such days indicated she was making an effort. She would be looking out the window with her coffee unfinished when I shuffled into the kitchen. "Are you all right, Mom?" Even though I knew the answer, I would still ask. She would lie and put on a flimsy grin that stopped short of her eyes, saying, "I'm fine, honey, just tired." My escape was school. I could act as though nothing was wrong and that my family wasn't disintegrating there. However, children do speak, and soon I heard rumors about my dad's affair and our decline in popularity. Hey Lisa, I heard that your dad left because he was fed up with your mother. Is that accurate? One day Jack, a child with too much tongue and not enough common sense, scoffed. Stop talking, Jack. You don't know anything, I would retort, clenching my fists. With my tongue as sharp as a dagger, I discovered how to battle with words. The stillness at home was overwhelming. In a mist of sorrow, Mom and I were like two ghosts walking past one another. However, Grandma and Grandpa intervened. They acted as our rock, keeping us from going any lower. You must not allow this to defeat you, Jane. Grandpa would reply, you're stronger than this, in a forceful yet worried voice. I understand, Dad. Mom would reply, her voice a whisper, her soul crushed. It's just hard. Difficult. Life is never easy. It's about rising, picking yourself up, and continuing. Grandma would interrupt with her usual directness. Lisa needs you. Their visits brought light into our dim world. They helped with bills, groceries, and most of all, they brought hope. Hope that things could get better, that we weren't alone. Lisa, why don't you help me with this? Grandma would say, handing me a recipe. Cooking became our therapy, a way to bridge the gap the silence had created. I watched Mom slowly, ever so slowly, start to come back to life. She began seeing patients again, her clinic's bones starting to ring with life. It was a slow climb, but we were making it, step by step. You think you can handle school and helping me at the clinic? Mom asked one day, her eyes holding a spark I hadn't seen in ages. Yeah, Mom, I can. Let's do this, I said, my voice more confident than I felt. But I was ready to fight, ready to help us move forward. The struggles were real, but they made us stronger. The betrayal, the hurt, it was all part of our story, but it wasn't the end. It was just a chapter, one that taught us about resilience, about fighting back when life knocks you down. Then my grandparents died, quietly, one after the other. They left us a legacy, a bittersweet gift that propelled us into a new chapter. With it, Mom found the strength to open her own ophthalmology clinic. It was a fresh start, a chance to rebuild from the ashes of our past. I'm thinking of naming it Visionary Futures, Mom announced one evening, her eyes shining with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Sounds like a superhero base, not a night clinic, I joked, trying to lighten the mood. Mom chuckled, shaking her head. Maybe so, but it's about looking ahead, Lisa. We're moving forward, not looking back. I helped set up the clinic, painting walls, assembling furniture, and sorting through endless boxes of medical supplies. It was hard work, but there was a sense of hope and purpose in the air that had been missing for too long. Lisa, can you help me with this? Mom called out from the reception area. I walked over to find her struggling with a computer system we'd installed. Let me try, I said, taking over the keyboard. You know, for a tech-savvy generation, I'm pretty useless at this stuff. You're doing better than me. I still miss paper records, Mom replied with a sigh. The clinic slowly started to take shape, becoming more than just a building. It became a symbol of our resilience. We were both learning and growing, finding our footing in this new reality. Opening day arrived faster than we anticipated. Mom was a bundle of nerves, double-checking everything and pacing the clinic floor. What if no one shows up? What if we fail? She whispered to me, her usual confidence wavering. We won't, I said firmly, more to reassure myself than her. You're the best eye doc in town. People will come. And come they did. The clinic was busier than we ever imagined, with patients praising Mom's expertise and the warm, welcoming environment we'd created. It felt like we were finally turning a page, leaving the shadow of Dad's betrayal behind us. In the midst of all this, I started to find my own place in the clinic. I wasn't just the daughter of the owner. I was a part of the team, helping patients and learning more about ophthalmology than I ever thought possible. Lisa, you have a real knack for this, Mom said one day, watching me interact with a particularly difficult patient. Have you ever thought about going into medicine yourself? I shrugged, unsure. The thought had crossed my mind, but it felt like a huge step. Maybe. I like helping people, and working here has been eye-opening. Pun intended. Mom laughed, pulling me into a hug. Whatever you decide, I'm proud of you. We've come a long way, haven't we? Yeah, we have, I agreed, looking around the busy clinic. We really have. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the clinic thrived. We were no longer just surviving. We were living. It wasn't always easy, and the shadow of the past sometimes loomed over us. But we faced each challenge together, stronger and more united than ever. After high school, I had this crossroads moment. Mom sat me down one evening. Her clinic file spread out like a sea around us. Lisa, she started in that serious tone in her voice that always made me listen up. Have you given any thought to becoming an optometrist? You've got the brains and the heart for it. Honestly, I had tossed the idea around in my mind, playing with it like a puzzle piece, trying to find where it fit in my future. Yeah, I thought about it, Mom. It's just big, you know? Following in your footsteps. She smiled that warm, reassuring smile that could light up our cramped living room. Big, yes, but not impossible. You've been my right hand here since you could barely reach the counter. You've got this. So I took the leap. I enrolled in medical college, diving headfirst into the world of medicine. Those years were a blur of textbooks, late-night study sessions, and more coffee than I'd care to admit. But I made it through, graduating with a sense of accomplishment that was both mine and a tribute to the path Mom had paved for me. I interned at her clinic, getting hands-on with everything from patient consultations to managing the inventory of lenses and frames. It was during this time I continued my medical education, never letting the dream of expanding our clinic fade into the background. Then came the International Ophthalmology Exhibition in our city. It was a big deal, and Mom had been buzzing about it for weeks. Lisa, this could be a game changer for us, she'd said, her eyes sparkling with that familiar mix of excitement and determination. And she was right, but not just about the clinic. At the exhibition, I met Alex. He was there representing a major pharmaceutical company, and from the moment I saw him, it felt like someone had punched the air out of me. He had this easy charm, a smile that felt like it was just for me, and eyes that listened. We got to talking, first about the boring stuff. Supply contracts, new drugs on the market, the usual. But then the conversation drifted. He asked about my work at the clinic, about what it was like growing up in a family so dedicated to healthcare. You really love it, huh? The clinic, I mean, he said, leaning in, genuinely interested. Yeah, I do. It's more than just a job, you know. It's part of who I am. I replied, surprised at how easy it was to open up to him. He nodded, that smile never leaving his face. I get that. It's the same for me. Passion drives us. Things moved fast after that. Alex started showing up at the clinic under the pretense of official pharmaceutical business, but we both knew it was more. He'd bring coffee, we'd steal moments between patients to chat, and before I knew it, I was falling hard. One day, after the clinic had closed and we were alone, he turned to me, took my hands in his, and said, Lisa, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I love you. My heart raced, my stomach did somersaults, and all I could manage was a whispered, I love you too. He smiled, that now familiar smile that promised so much more. Then, Lisa, will you marry me? It was sudden, but then the best things in life usually are. Yes, I said, no hesitation. Yes, I will. The excitement of the engagement consumed us. We dove into wedding planning, our days filled with talk of dates, venues, and dresses. Life at the clinic was usually a calm sea, the kind you'd want after a storm's passed. That day, though, it felt like the storm decided to make a U-turn. I was sitting behind the reception desk, scrolling through wedding dresses on the clinic's computer, dreaming, planning. That's when the door banged open, like trouble decided to walk in on two legs, dressed in expensive clothes that screamed louder than their voices. The couple, a man and a woman, strolled in like they owned the place, eyeballing everything with a mix of disdain and superiority. The man, about 60, with an air that he breathed better air than the rest of us, was the first to break the silence. "Hey, we need to see the da pronto." "Got no appointment, but tell her it's urgent." He barked, his voice grating against my already fraying patience. I plastered on my professional smile, the one Mom taught me for just such occasions. "I'm sorry, but we're fully booked for the next 2 weeks. I can take your number and call you if there's a cancellation." His reaction was like I slapped him with the schedule. What you can't squeeze in a real doctor. "Do you even know who I am?" Before I could muster a response that wouldn't get me fired, his gaze landed on my computer screen. The smirk that crawled up his face was enough to make my skin crawl. Looking at wedding dresses on the job. And look at you, thinking someone would marry that. I felt my cheeks burn, not from embarrassment, but pure boiling anger. "Excuse me, but my personal time is none of your business. Now, if you don't have an appointment, I must ask you to leave." His laughter was like sandpaper to my ears. "This is how you treat people here. No wonder this place looks like a dump. And you, girl, ever thought of visiting a plastic surgeon? That nose and those lips could use some work." I was about to launch myself over the desk and show him exactly what this girl could do when Mom came out. Her timing was always either perfect or disastrous, depending on how you looked at it. Her eyes widened in shock. "Richard." The atmosphere turned electric. Richard, the illustrious father who'd taken a hike from our lives, looked like he just swallowed a bug. "And who might you be?" His voice was laced with faint ignorance, but the venom was palpable. Mom's backbone turned to steel. "The mother of the girl you've just insulted." She shot back, her tone slicing through the tension like a scalpel. His companion, a walking advertisement for plastic perfection, piped up. "Let's go, honey. This place isn't worth our time." That's when Mom turned to me, her voice loud enough to cut through the standoff. "Lisa, this piece of work is your biological father. Be thankful he left. We're better off without his delightful company." The man, my so-called father Richard, recoiled as if Mom's words were physical blows. His arrogance deflated slightly, revealing a flicker of something else. Was it guilt or just surprise at being confronted so directly? "You can't talk to me like that, Jane. I've achieved things you wouldn't even dream of." He shot back, trying to recover his earlier bravado. Mom snorted. "Achieved? Destroying families, abandoning your daughter. If those are achievements, then yes, you're quite successful." The room felt too small for the growing tension. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching this surreal exchange between my parents. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. You want to look away, but you just can't. Just when I thought the drama couldn't crank up any higher, Dad brushed off Mom's words like they were just pesky flies and doubled down. "Look, just get the owner. My time's precious, and I'm not about to let your little clinic's reputation tank because you can't recognize importance when it's staring you in the face." Mom stood her ground, her voice calm but laced with steel. The owner you're looking at, her and Lisa here. She's not just my daughter, she's the co-owner and the future of this clinic. The look on Dad's and his new wife's faces, priceless, like someone had slapped them with a reality stick. Then Alex, my fiancé, sauntered in, quiet as a cat, but with a presence that filled the room. Mom wasn't done, though. She launched into Dad like a missile. You left us for your assistant, stole our money, and made life a misery, but look at us now. We're standing strong, and frankly, I thank God we're rid of a nobody like you. Dad tried to puff himself up, all indignant-like. Changed my mind about this place, got my own clinic with top-notch specialists. Just needed a quick consult while on the road. That's all. That's when Alex, bless him, chimed in. Your clinic. Aren't you the same guy who botched that surgery on the Hollywood star, got your license yanked, and left drowning in lawsuits? You could practically see the steam coming off Dad. His face went from red to ghost white. That's all lies. I'm well respected in my field. Alex didn't skip a beat. Respected? The only thing you're leading in is the race to the bottom. Bankrupt, tangled in legal troubles, and now this pathetic show. Not much of a legacy. Dad just soaked it all in, his face getting redder with every word, until he couldn't take it anymore. That's a load of bull. He exploded, his voice cracking under the pressure. I'm a legend in plastic surgery. My hands work magic. He gestured dramatically towards his wife, as if she were his masterpiece exhibit. Mom, Alex, and I couldn't help but take a good look at her. And well, let's just say it wasn't a pretty sight. The work he'd done was questionable at best. Seeing our reactions, Dad's wife lost it. She hurled insults at him like grenades, her voice sharp and cutting. Bad doctor, bankrupt, you're a disgrace. And with that, she stormed out, leaving a silence that echoed off the clinic walls. Dad, now alone and looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, slunk off after her without another word. It was like watching the end of a sad, twisted play. After my dad and his wife made their less than graceful exit, the clinic felt lighter somehow, like we just aired out a room that had been closed off for too long. Mom and I shared a look, a mix of relief and disbelief. Alex stood by the reception, a silent but solid support system. Can you believe that just happened? I broke the silence, still reeling from the encounter. Mom let out a laugh, the tension in her shoulders easing. Believe it. I lived it. And honestly, Lisa, I'm just glad it's over. Alex came over, putting an arm around me. You both handled that brilliantly. If that was me, I don't think I could have kept my cool. I smiled, leaning into him. We've had a bit of practice dealing with difficult patients, but he's on another level. Yeah, well, he's gone now. And from what I've seen, he won't be back anytime soon. Alex added, ever the optimist. Mom nodded, her gaze thoughtful. It's strange. For so long, the thought of facing him seemed like the ultimate showdown. Now that it's happened, it feels like, I don't know, like closing a book I've been reading for too long. That's because we're on to the next chapter, I said, feeling a surge of hope. And this time, we're writing it on our terms. As the day wound down, I found myself staring at the door Dad had walked out of. It was just a door, but it felt symbolic, like the barrier between our past and our future. Thinking about locking that door and throwing away the key, Alex joked, coming up beside me. Something like that, I admitted, but more about all the doors that are still open for us. Mom joined us, her arm linking with mine. He may have left a shadow here once, but we're the ones who choose what fills this place now. Love, care, and a whole lot of hard work. Yeah, and a no jerks allowed policy, I added, earning a chuckle from both of them. As we locked up the clinic that evening, the sunset painted the sky in hues of hope and promise. The departure shadows wasn't just about Dad leaving. It was about us stepping out from under the weight of his influence, ready to face the light of a new day. A few months down the line, the wedding bells were ringing. Me and Alex tied the knot in this cozy little ceremony, just a bunch of our relatives and close friends, the kind of people who'd been there through thick and thin. Dad, he was nowhere in sight, which suited me just fine. The day was perfect without his shadow looming over us. Chatting with some of the docs we knew, the gossip mills were churning. Turns out, Dad had crashed and burned big time. Dad's up to his eyeballs in debt, his last bit of property snatched away to cover some of them. And the cherry on top, a lineup of angry patients with botched jobs, ready to take him to court. Karma's a real kicker, ain't it? So he's really tanked, huh? I sent to Mom over coffee one morning, trying not to sound too smug about it. Mom sighed, her eyes a mix of relief and something a bit softer, maybe pity. Seems like it, Lisa, but let's not dwell on it. We've got our own lives to live. Yeah, you're right, I replied, feeling a twinge of, I don't know. Something, not exactly sadness, but close. It's just crazy, you know. After everything, Alex, ever the voice of reason, chimed in. Life's about moving forward, not looking back at the debris. We've got a lot to be thankful for. He was right as usual. The wedding was a blast, a real celebration of new beginnings. And with Dad's drama finally in the rear view, it felt like we could breathe again, really breathe. Our little family's got a bright future ahead, Mom said, her hand finding mine. Let's focus on that. And that's exactly what we did. The clinic thrived, our marriage was full of love and laughter, and the shadow of Dad's legacy faded into nothing more than a bad memory. We were building something new, something ours, and nothing could drag us down. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. The hardships, the battles, they made us who we are. And standing there with my mom and Alex by my side, I knew we were unbreakable. The past was just that, the past. Our eyes were set on the horizon, eager for the dawn of our new day.